Hey, I wanted to do one more example of solving equations with variables on both sides. I threw in, again, some negatives, some subtractions, some fractions in this one. Um, but again, my goal is I got 8 minus 3/4 or 3/4 of some value z, it's my variable, and it's equal to 5 times z minus 1. All right, let's draw my dividing line. My goal is to get z by itself. So the first thing I want to do is get z on one side. So I've got 3/4 z here. In fact, I'm going to change everything to plus and negative, because that'll make it easier to keep track of what's negative and what's positive. So I've got negative 3/4 z on the left side. We've got positive 5z. I always usually like to get rid of negatives and make things positive if I can. So I'm going to add 3/4 z to both sides. All right, negative, positive, those goes to 0. I'm left with 8 equals 5 plus 3/4 is just 5 3/4 z. We'll put parentheses around the z so I know it's a variable there. Plus negative 1. Okay, let's keep moving along here. I want to get z by itself. I've got 1z on one side. I'm liking that. So now I've got to isolate the variable. Let's get z by itself. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides to counteract the negative 1. That goes to 0. Add 1 over there. So we got 9 equals 5 3/4 times z. Here's where it gets kind of a little bit funny. So to undo multiplying by 5 3/4, well, I could just divide by 5 3/4. So that gets z by itself, which is what I want. But then this gets a little messy because we got 9 divided by 5 3/4. Well, let's think of it this way. If I rewrite things out a little bit, that's 9 divided by 1. I can write a whole number as a number over 1 divided by 5 3/4. And if I'm going to do division with fractions, I need to make both sides improper. So let's take 5 3/4. 4 times 5 is 20, plus the 3, that turns into 23/4. So now there's my problem. 9 over 1 divided by 23/4. Well, we also know division turns into multiplication if I take the reciprocal, multiply by the reciprocal. So that's really the same as 9 over 1 times 4 over 23. And now we're in business. I can multiply the top. 9 times 4 is 36. 1 times 23 is 23. I can turn it back into a mixed number. Let me get a new color here. 23 goes into 36 one time with a remainder of 13. So there we go. 9 divided by 5 3/4 is 1 13/23. So that is my solution. And this kind of makes sense. It's a good idea to step back. 9 is close to 10. 5 is a little bit more than, 5 3/4 is almost 6, but I can think of it as 5. It should be reasonably close to 2, a little less than 2, if I estimate this is like 10 divided by 5. And if I think about this number, 1 13/23, that's close to 1.5, 2. It's kind of in the ballpark, so I'm feeling good about it. So there is my solution. Z has to be 1 13/23.